This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. Well, public officials are calling for a probe into the Legionnaires outbreak that has affected New York, killed 5 people, affected, I think, hospitalized. In fact, actually, I think it's caused at least 108 or 110 people sick, 5 people dead as of yesterday. And Reverend Al Sharpton says it's Harlem Hospital's cooling towers that spread the Legionnaires' disease. So, interestingly, the New York Post is reporting that rainwater that came down in July was not treated. And they came down to these cooling towers, and it brewed bacteria, this Legionnaires. And they believe that that's what this hospital is one of the ground zeros for this Legionnaires outbreak. When I look at this, I think, well, if this happened to one building after storms, my guess is it could have happened to multiple buildings. But still, Al Sharpton says, and I agree with him, people should be able to depend on our hospitals and public spaces. He says we clearly should be monitoring this more closely. We have to be diligent about it. We cannot allow this Legionnaires outbreak to be normalized. So they believe the cooling towers at Harlem Hospital filled with rainwater after several large July storms never got treated. The bacteria was able to brew, spread among workers at the site. The lawsuit dovetails, I guess, these suspicions that the city dropped the ball on inspections of cooling towers at its buildings. Now, this construction company or this or the city inspectors are supposed to not only look at Harlem Hospital, but others. And if the engineering of it allows bacteria to brew and areas not get treated, that can then spread to people. 4 of the 12 cooling towers tested positive for Legionella bacteria. And the 12 cooling towers that tested positive, 4 of them were on city or government-owned buildings. 2 of those buildings were Harlem Hospital and the City Department of Health Central Harlem Sexual Health Clinic. They're on the same stretch of West 137th Street. They say building owners by state law and city health code are required to test for the disease causing Legionella every 90 days to avoid outbreaks. So who dropped the ball? City Health Department scientists also separately conduct inspections, usually every year, on cooling towers to make sure they're disinfected and that building owners are regularly testing. So this is something that's supposed to already be a process. The New York Post, looked at city records, showed the Central Harlem Sexual Health Clinic had 18 violations during cooling tower inspections since 2017. And no city records showed whether the clinic's cooling tower had been tested for Legionella. So this is something that needs to be done. This is a slam dunk. And they say a water sample taken in July 2025 as part of Legionnaires' disease cluster response was positive, showing how quickly it could grow in cooling towers. So the first diagnosis was made July 22nd. It was a 52-year-old chef who felt sick on June 19th, but then he was at a baby shower, then he went to hotel, then he went to the hospital. He was given antibiotics. Then it affected his lungs. And it hit him, unfortunately, pretty debilitatingly. So lawyers are now getting involved. Legionnaires, as we've talked about before, is something that healthy people could sometimes overcome. But thank God we have antibiotics. It comes from the Legionella bacteria, but not only can cause pneumonia, but it could also affect your brain, GI tract. The milder form, which is flu-like, we call Pontiac fever. But that's the Legionnaires' disease can be life-threatening. So if you're immunocompromised, if you're over 50, if you smoke, if you have a weakened immune system, if you suffer from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease or COPD, emphysema, if you live in a long-term care facility, if you've been in a hospital recently, you could be at risk. If you've had recent surgery, recent organ transplant, and according to Cleveland Clinic, they believe 18,000 people are hospitalized every year with this. It's more common between June and October, which is interesting. Now, the disease causes pneumonia-like symptoms anywhere from a couple days to 2 weeks. You could get fever, cough, shortness of breath, diarrhea, muscle aches, headache, nausea, confusion. Some people will get abdominal and GI distress, and then some people might cough up blood. People will call telemedicine companies saying they see blood in their sputum. Get to an urgent care and get tested, not only for Legionella, but for TB, check for cancer. We are not supposed to be coughing up blood. I know some people think they get a really bad bronchitis and might have torn something, but we need to rule out bacteria and other causes. There's multiple different species, but you find Legionella in lakes, streams, soil. But where most of us seem to get affected is through our water systems. This is why our hotels need to be very diligent about checking their water systems so somebody doesn't go into a shower and then get it. I always recommend with a hotel shower, let the water run a little bit. Air out the bathroom, because I like to heat up and I like the steam, but let the shower run, door open. So everybody else in the hotel room gets it. No, but then it dissipates and then you go into your shower. So be careful of hot tubs, shower heads, faucets, humidifiers, certain decorative like waterfalls and water features. Some people could get it through intubation during surgery, but all that is supposed to be sterile. And then, of course, you could get it from soil. We don't usually see, though, people give Legionnaires to each other. We don't really see a lot of people to people. But we can treat it. There's antibiotics we could use, Zithromax, Livaquin, Cipro, tetracycline, rifampin, and then, of course, if, God forbid, you are going into any acute kidney injury or respiratory failure or heart issues, we would obviously be even more aggressive with our treatment. So most people survive, but Legionella can be fatal 5 to 10% of the time. And thus far, we're hearing at least 5 people have died from this outbreak. So we'll keep you posted. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Love espresso, drip coffee, and cold brew? With the Ninja Luxe Cafe, if you can crave it, you can brew it. Espresso, balanced. Drip coffee, rich. Cold brew, in a flash. With Barista Assist technology, you brew with no stress and no guesswork. And make perfect silky microfoam hands-free from dairy or plant-based milks. Bring the coffeehouse home and unlock your favorites with the Ninja Luxe Cafe.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 799 and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 799. Again, FREE to 799.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free Valspar paint or exterior stain sample to test your look to confidently refresh your space. Offer valid in-store only 8/7-8/20. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken in time of purchase. See associate for details. Rewards program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So when the Me Too movement was kind of at its height, there was good and bad. One is it allowed people who were assaulted to feel comfortable talking about it, because for those of us who have ever been assaulted, we felt like if we did talk about it, that would either double down on the trauma we endured, or there could be some, shall we say, consequences. And being able to come out and speak about it and not feel marred or scarlet lettered or stereotyped or biased was very liberating. On the other end, you had idiots that lied. And once somebody lies about that, it ruins it for the rest of us. And when people thought that they could get their 5 or 10 minutes of fame saying, well, me too, this person touched my butt, this person touched my boob when we were making out, this person did X, Y, and Z, men started to feel a little nervous. And many of them have felt nervous even before then. And so there was a lot of, shall we say, concern in the workplace, how not to get in trouble for sexual harassment. Workplace rules started to change. Title IX, this was before Biden and the transgender issues, but Title IX really evolved, where you couldn't say a dirty joke. You can't walk out of the bathroom with your zipper accidentally down. You better remember to zip up. If you look at somebody, you can't look at them longer than 5 seconds. I mean, the rules these companies came up with because it allowed there to be a protocol, and it allowed there to be some guidelines where if somebody said, look, I feel assaulted, I felt unsafe, this is why. He did this, she did this, etc. And so as a result, and we spoke about this on our show years ago, many men were like, look, can I just work with men? I don't want to get accused. I don't want somebody saying that, I talked about a date and they accidentally hear, and now there's a Title IX violation. because somebody heard about me talking about having sex. Or I, quote a comedian I saw at a show the other night. Or I accidentally, because my hands, as I'm walking, I accidentally hit somebody in the hip. And so there was this, shall we say, kind of protection people felt if they could be, let the warehouse just be all dudes. Now we don't have to worry. There were concerns about women in the military because we don't want to get in trouble if accidentally we're all in a foxhole and some hand accidentally touches something. And mind you, there's predators out there that have taken advantage of, shall we say, small areas and tight quarters. But I think there's a lot of individuals that have been accused that weren't guilty. So men having their own spaces provides them some protection too. Now, there's not a lot of spaces for men, but the men's bathroom, the men's locker room. And now in the news, we have this case where 2 kids are suspended because a transgender male, somebody born biologically female, comes into their bathroom. And when they questioned the student, they got in trouble. Now, if I was a guy, and I get it, trust me, I've had to use a male bathroom when the women's room is like ridiculously, when the line to the girls' bathroom is too long. I've used guys' bathrooms. I've been very grateful. I go, guys, sorry, I really got to pee. I appreciate you guys. I get in, get out. It's their space. And it was nice to be able to use a bathroom. And so if somebody does have to use a bathroom, you do want people to be nice and not bully. But on the other end, if they feel like somebody could say they got assaulted in the boys' bathroom, they're not going to want a biological female walking in there. Where's the witnesses? Where's the protection? You don't have cameras in a boys' bathroom, and you shouldn't. It's for privacy. So Loudoun County Public Schools has now suspended 2 students at the Stonebridge High School for 10 days when they, I guess, accosted a female student in their bathroom as to why they were there. The attorney, Josh Heltzler, represents the boys' families. And I haven't seen the video, but apparently this is on video. And he said that the school district found the boys to be responsible for, quote, sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination. Now, the parents are furious. I think one already ripped them out of the school district. And the school did not publicly announce a suspension, but the punishment includes a non-contact order with the complainant, not being able to be in any of the same classes. The boys are required to meet with school administrators to determine a corrective action plan. Now, one Renee Smith already pulled her child out of the school. Family moved out of state. They were floored that they came back and branded my son, she said, responsible for sexual harassment and sex-based discrimination with no solid evidence whatsoever. Now, I haven't seen necessarily the video, but in Loudoun schools, Policy 8040 was adopted in 2021 that permits students to use restrooms and locker rooms that align with their gender identity rather than their biological sex. So on one end, everybody should be able to go to the bathroom and be able to go to the bathroom. On the other end, if you have these laws and these kids are very aware and very fearful of being branded as a predator or sexual discrimination or sexual assault, they're going to get nervous if a biological female comes into their space. And these are kids. These kids don't know how to handle it. How many times have you seen, so these cartoons, right, back in the 50s and 60s, where a man accidentally walks into a woman's restroom and you hear the, get out, things thrown at him, and he gets out because it was an accident. I didn't mean to be there. Accident. Okay, our response as women is if a man is coming into the bathroom, okay, that's a red flag, and you need to protect yourself. because the average man coming into the average man doesn't have to go to a female bathroom. And so they could be there for assault. They could have mental illness. Something could possibly, if you feel you're at risk, you need to alert people and get out. But now all the rules are changing. Somebody could identify as a female. The next minute they could identify as a male. And now these bathrooms that are supposed to be safe spaces are no longer safe spaces. Now, as I've said before, the only way to address this would be single-use bathrooms. But you have students who they are very fearful of being accused of sexual assault. They are going to be very nervous if a girl walks into their space. Because how do they prove that they didn't touch her, that they didn't assault her? Now, I don't know what was said, and there might be more evidence coming out. But if they, said something to the effect of, you shouldn't be here, this is the boys' room, get out. That's something women say to men all the time. Is that now Title IX? And what do you do? This is a, the single occupancy restrooms are probably going to be the way we have to go, because women don't want to be assaulted. Women don't want to feel unsafe. Men and boys don't want to feel like they're going to get accused. And you have individuals who want to avoid the female bathroom and the male bathroom because they get beat up on. And they get assaulted in bathrooms. And so people who are transgender or have gender dysphoria or who get bullied don't want. I hated going into the bathroom. And I don't have gender dysphoria. I would just go into the girls' bathroom. These girls were mean. Why? Because there's no teachers around. I would go to the bathroom, get in and get out. This is why so many people can't poop in public bathrooms. Because of growing up being so fearful of the bullies in the bathrooms, you didn't stop and take time to go potty. You went to the bathroom fast and in fact, I'm like one of the fastest peers. It was pretty admirable in medical school because, if you had surgery or there was trauma or whatever, you had to pee. I could do it in 2 seconds flat. But we're going to have to come up with a better system because boys and girls need to feel like they're not going to also get in trouble for following rules that are there for their safety. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners is really nervous about the New York City mayor race. And, I spoke about Mondani depression and anxiety where people are kind of nervous about this. And I'm a little bit more relaxed because, interestingly, if New York City votes for a socialist or communist and or an anti-Semite, then they reap what they sow. And if that's what New York City wants, now, assuming the election is fair, this is why it's so important to have fair elections. I really think we need to make mail-in ballots the way they used to be, where you had to ask for one. That mail-in ballot wasn't just sent to everybody by default. You had to ask for one. You got that mail-in ballot. That prohibited then from you from voting in person because you were doing the mail-in ballot, so that would guarantee only one vote, and you couldn't drop off tons of votes and boxes of mail-in ballots when people are like, where the hell did these come from? I guess contributed to the integrity of the election, where people who couldn't vote could vote, but it was only a few thousand per precinct. It wasn't the majority of votes. But if the New York City mayor race is legit and New Yorkers want Mamdani, then that's the American way. If they want to vote for a socialist or a communist, then that's their choice. Why people are getting frustrated is they think there is some control. You have Curtis Sliwa running on the Republican side. Curtis, great guy. I've talked to him and we've had dinner and he was supposed to come on the show a little while ago and something happened. There was a mishap, so we'll try to get him back on. But he, I think, would be a fantastic mayor. But unfortunately, there's not enough Republican votes to launch him into the mayor office. On top of that, he's running against Governor Cuomo and Eric Adams. So the three of them are going to split any opposition vote against Mamdani. And, people are, they're asking them to drop out. Why are the three of them going to split the vote? But Curtis Sliwa, and I don't blame him, he's always run on the Republican side. He's always been the opposing candidate. He doesn't want to go. Andrew Cuomo in the lead on the opposition. He doesn't want to go, although, Cuomo's not very popular. Remember the Cuomo chips where you couldn't sell alcohol during COVID and be a bar unless there was food? So they came up with these $1 a bowl for chips, and they called them Cuomo chips. So that was kind of a mess. And Eric Adams not doing that well. So you got Mamdani at 42% among registered voters, Cuomo at 23%, according to AARP poll, Eric Adams 9%, Sliwa at 16%. All three of them combined could beat Mamdani, but two have to leave. And that's not going to happen. And why would Sliwa leave if Cuomo doesn't and Adams doesn't? Why does he have to be the sacrificial lamb? So for those people kind of concerned, why I think people are concerned is when you look at the ideas and the things coming out of Mamdani's, texts, and like he was anti-police, he wanted to defund the police. It makes you nervous that somebody like that could be popular. It also makes you nervous that maybe people don't remember what he said or what he stands for, or you think they're being snowed by him being younger, being very savvy on social media. One thing we've all seen is when people campaign, they act like they're the coolest person out there. And then once they get into office, you're like, what the hell did I vote for? How many people voted for Biden? And they said, what? Whoa, what? No. I didn't vote for this. Even federal workers that voted for Trump. Trump gets into office, and then a bunch of federal workers get fired. So there's the post-election hangover that happens. And so for those people kind of anxious about what could happen to New York City, the biggest, most populous city in the country, a city watched by the whole world, a city that gives a mayor a global stage, that's, it does. It makes people nervous. So if you do have anxiety and depression, why is that? Do you think that socialism is going to be the thing of the future? Well, the more people asking for it, the more people voting for it. So yes, it can be. I think medicine is going to be socialized. I don't want it to be. But Obamacare really put the nail in the coffin of private health insurance. Really screwed things up because now private health insurance is charging even more, playing these deductible games, and it's a mess. Why? Because Obamacare gives them money to do it. Obamacare subsidizes our insurance companies. So they raise their prices and they get more money. They raise their prices and say, we don't kick in and pay until the deductible. So you're buying a product that won't even pay until you've shelled out an additional $10,000 in addition to your $1,200 a month premiums. We're being taken. And after a while, Americans are like, well, then forget this. This isn't healthcare. In regards to healthcare, one reason why we argued against socialism was because before Obamacare, if you needed a CAT scan or an MRI, you got one fairly quickly. So the argument we made was if you were in Canada or in the UK, you had to wait months. If you needed to see a doctor, you could get in same day in America. Yet in Canada or UK or Europe or other countries, it would take months for you to see a provider. I had Canadian patients come down and see me because it was cheaper for them to just come down, see me, get what they needed, get an exam, get a test ordered, which they paid cash for, than waiting the months up in Canada. But now that's changed. Now, if you want to see a doctor, you're deep into 2026 before you get an appointment. So with our private healthcare system, we're already looking like these socialized systems. So of course, voters are going to say, well, then why not be socialized and save us the money? Why am I spending all this money to not be able to see a doctor for months? So it's a mess. So I think people are worried that if Mamdani wins, this, support of globalizing the intifada, the support of government-run grocery stores, the support of have the wealthy pay for everybody, him getting to be in a rent-stabilized apartment when he makes six figures, and this lack of, this is attention to the population that really needs the rent help. I think people are getting a little nervous. And even though we tell ourselves, well, then he'll fail. That's what people said with Biden. They go, well, fine. If Biden comes into office and he fails, then that'll be good for it's not really good for anybody if our president fails. It really wasn't good for the GOP having Biden as bad as he was. And look at how Trump is still trying to dig us out of that hole. He's doing a great job. But having a president or a mayor who stinks and ruins the city or ruins the country, none of us benefit. But if we're looking at political strategy, nobody is going to vote in anybody like Biden again. And maybe if Mamdani does win and mess up, maybe that'll temporarily kick the can down the road for an argument for communism or socialism in America. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today on our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive this stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So this headline caught my eye. Field AI has raised over $400 million, according to Axios Science, to make robot brains. Remember we talked about yesterday how, was it Chinese researchers are making robots that can carry a baby to term? From gestation to term. Now these robots are also going to have quote unquote brains. Now Field AI is a California-based developer, and they've raised $405 million in venture capital funding at a $2 billion post-money valuation. Now Field AI is developing what it calls field foundation models trained on the physical world rather than retrofitting large language models to robots. Then it applies the field foundation models to third-party robots, regardless of form, with a focus on applications in dirty, dull, and dangerous industries like construction, energy, and logistics. So the CEO, Ali Agha, said all we need from the robot manufacturer is that the robot could be joysticked by a person. If you have that, we can replace the person by installing our box on the robot. For example, if it's a humanoid robot, then it looks like a backpack. If it's a quadruped, then it's on its back. Oh, a quadruped. That's what it meant. I'm sorry, quadruped. That would make a lot more sense. The initial $91 million was raised at a $400 million pre-money valuation late last year. They're talking about, but let's look at this brain, where the company is saying, look, you have a person you need to replace. You need to tell us what that robot is. Is it something that can be joystick managed? And then we could then put in our box. We could install our box on the robot. So this concept, rather than making a robot from scratch that could do certain tasks, we have the ability to make then most machines do a certain function. They have to have the baseline, and what we are inserting is not the heart of it but the brain of it. So you're going to look at this headline going, okay, so they're going to think and feel, and no, they're not. No. But they're getting closer and closer to our replacement. And I'm very frustrated by that. I tell you, some of the telemedicine I do, it's called asynchronous, where the company allows patients to text and fill out on the app their issues. They answer questions. And then the AI gives a suggested diagnosis. You still need a human to prescribe. States are not allowing AI to do the prescriptions. But Now, from all over the country, we could look at these, depending on where we're licensed in, and I'm licensed in multiple states, and we could look at the patient's answers. Now, most of the patients, I think, need an exam, and I will escalate it and say, we need you to be seen, or we have some more questions for you, where I just can't say this is pink eye or a vaginal yeast infection or a UTI. And so more work needs to be done. But the fact that patients, I mean, think about it, back in the 80s, right? For those of us around in the 80s, if you said you're going to have a computer be your doctor, you'd be like, say what? No, that's kind of scary. I want to go and see a human. I loved my pediatrician. He was so nice, funny. His name was Dr. Resnick. No, I don't think I want a bot or a computer doing that. If you told me in the 80s, you are going to later in life as a grown woman, get into a car with a stranger at night, and they will take you where you want to go without incident. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get into a car with a stranger. If you told me in the 80s, you are going to have a credit card and you are going to be downloading that credit card information onto a computer that is mobile, right? And you can, anywhere you go, access that computer, your credit card will charge what you needed to charge. There's no way I'm going to do that. Somebody else could steal it. Yet here we are today, getting into cars with strangers with Uber and Lyft. We're putting our credit cards into the system, our birthdays, our Social Security. We're giving medical details online. Many telemedicine platforms require pictures, and people are sending pictures of their genitalia to the online site. And they do it willingly because they don't want to go in. This COVID really changed things. I would never upload a picture of my private parts. But somebody having Ozempic vulva and is worried about that and doesn't want to go into a gynecologist but just wants to be treated online is uploading an image onto the computer. Now, these telemedicine companies have encrypted, HIPAA compliant sites, but you're still taking a picture on your iPhone. You're still uploading it. It's something we would have never thought we would do. In the 80s, you go to the doctor and let them examine you. You don't take a picture of your privates and upload it onto a computer. That would be unheard of. But that now today is the norm. And so when people say, Dr. Daliah, no, robots aren't going to take over. Humans aren't going to be displaced. You know, look at how humans still have jobs, even though computers are now mainstream. I think I would be a little less naive and do some more research on that. We're not talking about an iPhone. We're not talking about going from your pet computer to a Commodore 64 to a Windows 98 to now your HP whatever or Windows XP. We are talking about automation, and not just machines, but AI, software, humans, that work we do that can become very mundane, very repetitive. Companies can save money. Purchasing the software, purchasing the robots, purchasing the automation. And that's what it's about these days, saving money. And if doctors don't think we're not going to be replaced by AI, they got another thing coming. Humans would love for a doctor on the other end of the computer to not see that picture of their privates. They just want to tell the computer, I have a rash by my penis. I have penile sores. I have vaginal discharge. And they want the computer to give the prescription without any more questions asked. And once people don't want a human, that's when we're in trouble. Why is Amazon so popular? I got to tell you why I like Amazon. Because if there's a problem with an order, their chat bot will give me a refund. I prefer their chat bot to a human because it's programmed to give me the refund if what I tell them is they sent me the wrong thing or it doesn't work. And they really make that process easy. Whereas you used to have to talk to a human. The human's like, really? Did you open it? Did you? They made the process more difficult. So once we have humans wanting these robots, shall we say, or computers, we're done for. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.